Alright, so I'm looking for some good news, some redemption from my horrible inspection yesterday on the other hive. You can see all the bees flying around. It's because I left 4 frames of that messed up comb that I pulled out from the second deep on there. And we're going to inspect this. This is the carniolans. This was the weaker of the 2 nukes I bought this year. Again, this is only the second time I've been into the hive. And we have a deep brood chamber and the honey super that I added on top. Hopefully things look a lot better in this hive. Everything would have had foundations on it in here, so I'm not expecting all that crisscross jagged stuff over there. But to recap on that hive over there, basically what I managed to accomplish was killing several hundred bees most likely, and getting rid of all of their winter food storage. So that hive right now has very little honey and pollen in the brood chamber around the edges. I mean, very, very little. The honey super I put on top is brand new and completely empty. There's not even any comb built up on it. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that hive. I don't have any intentions on going in there today unless I take some honey from this hive and move it into that one. Not exactly sure what I'm going to do. It depends on how this looks inside and how easy it is to inspect. But I'm not planning on taking honey out of here and doing any of the nonsense that I did yesterday. So again, I'm hoping to see no varroa mites, signs of life, and a queen with some honey stores. And we'll determine the condition of this hive to see what we're going to do with that one. I still have the super big hive over there to look in as well. So if this is kosher, we may just leave it. Enough of that, let's get into it, see what we got. All right, so this hive has got plenty of honey and plenty of population. No eggs, no larvae, no brood, and no queen, at least that I saw. But my queens aren't marked from what I can remember, and I'm not very good at spotting them anyway, so she could be in there. I know they slow down production at this time of year anyway, so this hive's looking pretty decent as of now. Look at the remnants from the other day. So 4 frames full of honey. There's a lot of fighting going on, I think, in here. Look at all these hornets or wasps. Look at them all right there. It's probably a bad thing for my hive. But let's see. Oh. Bad decision after bad decision. Now this has the flow frames up here in this top box, and there's B&Bs in here, but I don't know if there's any actual honey in there or not. So I guess we're gonna get to it and find out. Honey. These bees are getting in my suit or stinging me somehow. I need a better suit. I think they stung me on the back of the neck, and then I got it on the hand. So how long does it actually take until you get used to the stings? Because I'm definitely not there yet. Oh god, that sting. All right, so these are the flow frames that I've had on here for a whole season, plus a season previous, and I've just had no luck. Feels super light. There's been plenty of bees up here, so it's not the fact that the bees weren't going up here. They don't like these. They don't like these flow frames. There's absolutely nothing in there. Hive beetles. Hive beetles there. Nothing. More hive beetles. A few remnant bees. All right, so here we are outside by my wood pile, sitting on a log next to my flow frames. And this is how they've been for a year and a half, is empty. So before I give you my 2 cents on how I feel about the flow frames and flow hive, let me just say that I think that the flow hive has single-handedly created more beekeepers than any other product in the country. It generated so much interest. It got so many people started in the hobby, especially backyard beekeepers. It's just unbelievable. And that's how I got started keeping bees as well. But that in itself is one of the problems with the flow hive. I think I saw the flow hive and I thought, wow, I can just buy this flow hive, throw some bees in it, and walk out my backyard, turn the spigot, and get honey on demand. Oh, that's not really the case, especially as you start to learn about bees and what's entailed in it. And that, I think, is the biggest flaw of the flow hive, is making people think that beekeeping is something that it's actually not. I mean, there are so many reasons that you have to get into a hive. You have to open it up, put on your bee suit, get in there, stand in a swarm of bees, dig around, smash bees, possibly get stung. I think the flow hive makes people think that none of that occurs. But there's many, many reasons to go into their hive. You have to check the health of the hive, the food stores, the queen. Sometimes you might have a queen problem, or you got to check your population. You have to expand the hive in the summer and spring. You have to make it smaller in the winter if you live in a climate where it's colder. As the hive empties out with food stores and becomes less population, they need a smaller area to keep warm. I would not recommend a flow hive for anyone. As you can see, this is a year and a half. A year and a half. I mean, it was, despite the fact that I didn't do much with my bees this year, with inspection wise, it was the best year my bees have ever had. There was so much flow this year, so much honey and activity and population in the hive. They didn't even touch the flow hive, the flow frames. They just don't like them. I've seen people take out the queen excluder, put honey supers on top, put it on the bottom, put the brood chamber on top, all these tricks to get the bees to use them. But the fact of the matter is the bees just don't like it. And, I think it's just much simpler to do it the traditional way. I mean, I know it makes it seem easier, but in reality, I don't think it really is. Okay, everybody, I just want to make a video to finish up my season 3, which has been a very inactive bee season for me. I've kind of been a bad beekeeper this year, as you've seen from the previous section. But yeah, I'm pretty much wrapped it up for the year. But I want to at least start this video out on a positive note with some things that did happen. So even with the debacle on the Italian hive over there with the sloppy comb build from the bees, I was able to get my first honey harvest. So check it out. Well, I did make some good from that debacle with the honey super that was all messed up out there. So when I pulled all that comb out, I left a few frames out there for the bees to feed on, and the rest I scooped up and put into, well, I'll show you in a second. But yeah, I got this, which is a 4-pound jar, and probably a 3-pound jar, and some smaller jars here. All the honey. This is my first honey harvest, and it came from an error or a mistake that I made at the hive. So some good came out of it, and I wanted to show you exactly how I did this. I didn't film the process, but I can explain it to you real quick because it was pretty simple. So here is what was left. I basically just scraped all the comb from the lid and from those broken up frames that I yanked out of the hive. And then this is a paint strainer bag. It's a 5-gallon paint strainer bag. It's a 5-gallon bucket. The top has this little stretchy cord. Stretched it over the top. You can see the remnants of the comb in there. Over this bucket, put all the comb in there. It was sitting in the bag, and I was just squeezing the bag, breaking up the comb, popping off all the wax caps and just giving it a way to drain out of it. And I let it sit in this bag. Actually, I had 2 bags full, and they sat in this bucket for about 2 days, slowly draining out. This is what's left of it, and it got, I don't know, probably a good 2 gallons of honey, just about, maybe. I don't know, maybe a gallon. I'm not quite sure, but that's what I got out of it. It was a pretty simple process. You just put it in a 5-gallon paint strainer bag, sit it over a bucket, and let it drain out for a couple days. And I mean, there's nothing in it. It's clear as day. No particles, no nonsense. This is an old one, an old honey jar. It's got some crust in it. These are all the new ones. So yeah, that is something good that came out of the hives. And secondary, after I did the inspection on all 3 of my hives, they are all buttoned up for the winter. We're approaching November here in the Ozarks. It's getting cold out, and there's not much happening for the rest of the year. So they're all tied down. You can see I got a cover on them to keep the snow and the rain off. And there is food in every single hive. These 2 right here have full supers full of honey, and the one over there has a frame feeder full of sugar water in it. Plus they've got a few stores as well. So we are locked down for winter. As far as the future of my hives, I'm hopeful, but pessimistically I'm doubtful as well. As you know, there was no brood, no queens, and no signs of life. However, there was a large population, so I have 2 hopes. One, that I missed the queen. She's really slowed down on production, and they're still in those hives. And if that's not the case, my second hope is that there's a large enough population that it makes it through the winter and I can requeen next spring. So fingers crossed for that.